Hey folks, Bespoke Tailor and sewing instructor Ray Robinson, and I'm going to show you a very beginner-friendly way to make a really cool placket. Let's say if you have a pattern that doesn't call for it, but you wanted to add it. Let's say right to the front of the garment. Well, I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm going to show you one way to do that. We're going to put a red placket in there because it'll make it easy for you to see on the video here. So the first thing I'm going to do is we're going to make a 1-inch placket from here to, well, it'll be 1 inch wide, right? And we'll say it'll be about a 6-inch long placket down the center of the front. And these are going to actually form the placket. Now, what I have here, since we're going to make a 1-inch placket, these are actually 3 inches wide, and I'm going to actually mark these and mark the placement lines. Then I'll be able to explain just a little bit better. So let me go ahead and do that right now. All right. So what we have here, that is 6 inches. Now that's not accounting for what would be the seam allowance. So 6 inches from the top to the bottom there, and that is 1 inch across. And you see this V right there. That V I have about a 1/2 inch up from that bottom line. So now I want you to become very comfortable with this particular formation here. You've got a line, and then it veers off to a V between 2 placement lines. You're going to see that repeated when you're making a pocket, a double jet pocket. I know that often they're called welts in modern days, but they're actually jets. But when you're making a double, we'll just go ahead and say welted pocket, you'll have this same scenario, only you will have a V on this end also, right? So now you're going to see what that V represents in a short while, but basically we're going to split this line to the top of that V, then we're going to split from that V to the corner, or just before the corner of this placement line, and then the top of this section to just before the corner of this placement line. And then it will open up. And the point of this is always that what you make on top will be visible from here to here, but in that V, that gets shoved to the bottom. I'm going to show you how that works. And these are the things that will form the actual placket. You see that since I'm making a 1-inch placket, right? I've got these already interfaced. In order to make a 1-inch placket, this is going to be doubled, right? So once you double that, well, this is 3 inches straight across. Okay, and I made them longer than 6 inches to give me some room to play with. But this is 3 inches across. So that's the center. That's 1 inch away. That's 1 inch away. And then you've got some seam allowance here. I allowed a 1/2 inch for this demonstration. Now, in reality, I usually end up with like a 1/4 inch seam allowance here, but it's a lot easier to manipulate a 1/2 inch. Then I could trim that later if I chose to. So once again, these are the dimensions. We're going to make a 1-inch placket from side to side, and 6 inches down. Okay, so measuring from the top, we go down 6 inches. We have 1 inch straight across, right? Which means since that center line is splitting the two, then each one of these sections represents a 1/2 inch. Once we cut that, you've got a 1/2 inch seam allowance that will be formed. That center line comes down to about a 1/2 inch from hitting the bottom line. That's where we're going to form the V. So let me go ahead and press this. I'm going to press this in half, and then I'm going to press under each one of these seam allowances. I'll do one and then compare it to this, and then I'll do the other. I don't have to do both on camera. All right, and here we have it. We have the first section that, let me open it out so you can see it. That basically is, well, it is exactly this, only you can see how I pressed it. First, I've got it pressed in half, and then I pressed in those seam allowances until we end up, that should fit right in there. Look at that. 1 inch. Okay, so we're going to do the same with this, and then I'll get right on to the next part. All right, and we have them both. So now what I'm going to do at this point, I really want to see this line a little bit more, so I'm going to extend it. Keep it squared out, just so that I can see that. Okay, and what I want to show you is that, of course, we have both of these placket halves. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to have 1/2 of it with the open edge facing one direction, the other half with the open edge facing the other direction. Can we see that? Zoop. Right? Then I'm going to put them on top of each other. Okay. And with that, I'm going to lay, now making sure that I have enough to get all the way up to the top once I'm done. Yeah, so we're about that much. I'm going to lay these right together at the bottom. And I'm going to mark a line to make sure that we keep that nice and squared. Then I'm going to stitch it. And I'm stitching through all layers in this case. Let me turn that to about 3 on my machine because of these layers. And I'm going to walk that pretty close to the edge there. Then I'm going to flip that around. I don't want to go past the placket line. I want to make sure I'm stitching on the placket and not on any of, well, now under here we're stitching on this also, but on the side I don't want to end this stitch touching any of the blue, just placket. So I'm going to walk this with a smaller stitch to the edge. Boom, right there. Just want to get that firmly established there. And we're good. All right. Clip those threads. All right. So we end up with this, right? We have the two pieces, and they open up in opposite directions, one on top of the other. We have the fact that it has been stitched at the bottom of this shape right there, right at the very bottom. If I lift this up, you'll see that there is the V. Now what we're going to do, we're going to cut straight down the center, stopping at the top of the V. Then we're going to cut over to the edge, and then cut over to the other edge and open the whole thing out. I could probably use my little snips to do this right here. And I want you to see that I'm stopping at the tip of that V. Okay. Now I'm going to go from where I stopped and cut it all the way over until we get just to the edge of the placket. You don't want to go past it, or you'll have a hole in your shirt when it's done. You don't want to be too far away from it, or you'll get a pucker. So that's the most precise part that you'll have on this whole operation. I'll do the other side here. I'm lifting that piece up. Hopefully you can get it in that shot. And I'm going to cut from the top of that V to just as I get to the red. And we'll flip that over and be able to see what's going on that side. Sometimes we can see that a little better like that. And you can see what I've done. Okay. So we cut right down the center, stopped at the top of the V. Then from the V, I went to the, what we're doing, we're actually going right at this stitch line without cutting it. That stitch line is what we've done right here. So it is the bottom of this shape. We're going right up to it on both sides. Then you get this. See, you can spread that open. So now let me show you the cool thing about it. Now that we have that formed, okay, we can turn this up and pull. Let me let you see my hand go there. We're going to pull the bottom part under to the bottom side. Now, if I lift this up, kind of hold that down, you'll see what I've done. See that? We've turned that to the bottom side. It could be longer, but I didn't cut it very long, so that's fine. It'll still work. And let me show you what's going on when I flip that around. You'll see exactly what's going on. That bottom end piece is now at the back of the shirt or dress or blouse or whatever this is that you're making. And we have these at the top. And you can see that it disappeared from up here. So that's great. Now, this is This is even cooler, what I'm about to do right now. I'm marking the tops of both of those so that they are parallel to where they need to go. And then starting with the one that's at the bottom, okay, once you flip it over, the one that's at the bottom, you can see that it's facing this seam right here. So we're going to work that seam right in between that placket piece. Can you see what I've done? Let me pull it out. Then we're working that seam right in between the placket piece. So the red placket, I'm lining that up with the placement line here. And you can see when I lift that up, it is like that on both sides of it. Can we see that in the shot? So this blue is actually within that placket. Now at this point you can pin that. And normally I would baste it, but I'm going to pin that. And just hug that placement line. Make sure that placement line is being fed through there. And ease it so that you're not forming a pleat in your top cloth. And I'm going to put a pin right there. Okay. And I'm going to move up a bit. And we're going to put another another pin in there. And that takes us all the way up to the top. And staying on that placement line, you know what I'm going to do. I'm going to put another pin. Now normally I would have basted this in less time than it took me to pin it. So that's why I actually encourage the use of a thimble, and I mean I've been using my hand sewing with a thimble for decades. Once you get used to it, it is very fast. So now what I'm doing, I'm placing, so we got the first piece in there, and both sides, see, it's together. It's pinned together. So now I'm going to do the top side. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to feed that into the opposite end right here. Do this upside down. It'll be a little easier to get that in there. Right there. Very nice. Get that in the center. I'm going to add a little tension to straighten that out. Make sure that goes under there all the way down. Then I'm going to put a pin right there. I'm going to add another one right here. And one more should do it. All right. So you can kind of see what we have here. How when that is stitched, it will form the placket. Let's stitch it. I'm going to start with the bottom. Don't forget to move these pins out of the way as you actually get to before you get to it, before the needle hits it. Once you're close, you can move those out of the way. That's one. And I'm just doing an edge stitch, probably about 1/16 of an inch from the edge. Get these out of the way here. And when I get to the bottom, I do not want to cross this line and go into the top placket piece. I want to come right to that line, then I'm going to back stitch, lock it in. There we go. How pretty that is. That's pretty. That's pretty. That is prettier than a stack of pork chops. And that's pretty. I just made myself hungry with the stack of pork chops. All right, now. And so with that bottom line stitched, okay, I'm now going to start stitching this edge. So I'm going to flip that back like that. Okay, can we see how I have that? Okay. Cut those stitches, those extra threads there. Okay. We can see we have a nice placket forming, but there's a couple of operations I want to do. That remain. I want to flip this under, and now we can see that part of the V that actually got tucked under. We want to stitch from there to there without catching this. So I'm going to take, because this is the shirt, right? So I'm going to move that out of the way like that. I'm going to move that out of the way like that. And that leaves that nice and open. So let's get that under there. Stitch that out. Let's clean all of this up. Then I'm going to stitch about a 1/4 inch past that. to kind of lock that V in place. Okay. And the only other thing I want to do is stitch about 1/4 inch above that stitch that I did on the placket right there. About 1/4 inch above it through all layers. And that locks the whole placket in place there. Now, if you have a serger, you could finish, let's get this, I call it cleaning my trash. Clean the trash, clean the trash. We have a raw edge right here that if you don't have a serger, you could do some whip stitches to keep that from fraying. If you have a serger, make sure everything's out of your way and you can just run that edge under your serger. Up here, we want to grab my scissors here. We want to clip those parallel. Now we're ready to press it, but you can see we have a nice placket right there, and right there. Let's press it, and there you have it, a nice placket. All you need to do is finish the collar, however you would finish the collar. You need to make your buttonholes, put your buttons on that side. Button it up, and look how pretty and neat that is. Can you see that? And now that wasn't very difficult, was it? That was not difficult at all. And once again on this side, Ray, clean your trash. Ray, clean your trash. Make sure everything's nice and clean. The little stitches, clip them and clean them. But finish that edge right there, however you want to do it. You could either whip stitch, you could zigzag. I forget about zigzag, but yeah, you don't need a serger. Just move everything out of your way, right? And zigzag, and you're golden. All righty. And I hope that's been of value to you. You've just put a placket on a garment that didn't even have one. You can put a placket on it and then finish the edge accordingly. But that's a very easy placket. Hope you enjoyed it. Ray Robinson, Bespoke Tailor, retired Bespoke Tailor, now sewing instructor. And even though this is not a tailored garment, you see the name of this channel, You Can Sew It All with Ray. We'll see you in the next video. Now, if you like and subscribe and hit the bell if this has been of value to you. And we truly do appreciate your support.